We're talking quarterbacks here in the 2025 NFL Draft today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Stay tuned for the Armada Player of the Week later in the show.
So happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Unlike any other Monday of the year, because it's NFL Draft Monday. We've made it.
Sort of.
To the Monday.
I know. But now, Kyle, now that I'm done with all my film evaluations, I just need to push the fast forward button. I can't deal with all the stuff, man.
It's 72 hours.
Is that okay?
Draft Dudes do math.
72 days. Hours, man. 3 days. Okay. All right, 3 days.
Right? So you're going to wake up, you're going to roll out of bed. It's going to be a shining sun coming in through your window, and you're going to say, wow, Buffalo Bills are going to trade out of 30 today.
Right.
Yeah. So this is our last position recap, right?
This is it. We've done them all, man, until obviously quarterback's happening right now.
Right. And then the rest of this week, do we have a formal content plan to kind of set the stage for everybody?
We'll have our final mocks. Will come.
Yep.
Middle of the week, right? Before Wednesday at midnight.
We do individual shows on those?
Yeah, for sure.
And then we obviously have to kind of look at our big boards and present our consensus top 100 as well. So it should be good. We have all the macro stuff before. And then whatever news, you're starting to get like insider reporting on Jacksonville's the wild card at 5 and what skill player are they going to take instead of Mason Graham? And that's what we did in the pre-show for 15 minutes before we kicked off here today.
Yeah, well, eventually we'll bring those conversations to everyone. We gotta talk to, everybody we know, try to figure out everything we can.
Right.
But that's the stressful part of this week is you try to connect all the dots and it's one freaking domino doesn't go the way you need it to, and the whole thing is just
like a domino at 5.
Yeah. 5, right?
So let's do this quarterback class, and we're going to start with the guys you would hitch your wagon to. As far as if you were drafting and needed a starter long term, do we generally agree that there's 3 guys that are most appropriately fitting into that bucket? I know we might get a 4th predictively in the top 35. But one of those guys not coming in to start or have any outlook of starting in his first year, if that were to be the case.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Kyle. I think there's 3 names that strike me as reasonable paths to have an answer for your franchise quarterback. Cam Ward out of Miami, Jaxson Dart, Ole Miss, and Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. There's interesting other players, and I'm excited to talk about them with you, but I think those are your best 3 opportunities to get the QB position right.
I noticed you mentioned Jaxson Dart's second.
Mm-hmm.
Was that intentional?
Yeah, it's my QB too.
Yeah. So do you want to have that conversation? Do you want to start with Cam and work through all 3? I know we did like deep dives on all 3 of them earlier in the off-season cycle. I know I did a rewatch on Jaxson, and he's a little bit higher than he was the last time we talked about him.
Yeah, well, I think the Cam Ward conversation is very easy. Just high tools, right? High tools, playmaking, upside. Has a lot of clubs in the bag, creative. That's the exciting part there. He's a good dude too. I mean, this is one of the guys you spoke to him for a while as well. And we had a chance to meet with him in California. Seems like he's got a lot of all the intangibles and all the physical traits. So that's what makes him exciting.
And that was when he was coming into Washington State.
Yeah.
It was like just leaving Incarnate Ward.
That's kind of a cool thing about him is he's been to 3 different places and really blew it up in all 3 spots.
Yeah.
I think
he's had a ton of passing opportunities after being underdeveloped.
Yeah.
Or not having passing opportunities in high school.
Or other guys that takes him 3 places to get somewhere where they can actually play.
Right.
So,
and he's had the success that he's had, and there's a confidence in the way that he plays.
Yeah.
Sometimes for better or for worse. But I think that gene you tolerate in a lot of ways because of what else it brings to the table for the ability to create plays. And you mentioned the arm talent. If you told me I had to have any quarterback in this class make any level of like any degree of difficulty trajectory throw, whether that's pulling the string on the ball for a layered throw, whether that's throwing around a free runner coming off the edge while you're in the pocket, whether that's dropping one out of the helicopter down the field on the red line, on the go balls, whether that's ripping one into a second window late, but with reactionary quickness. Like that's the stuff with Cam that I think just kind of puts him on a different level than all the other guys in this year's class. Is like the geometry of throws.
Yeah.
I don't want to say he's unlimited with, but like he has a very elastic arm that can get you to a lot of places with a lot of different release points from inside or outside the pocket that keeps plays and levels of the field accessible to him at a degree that you don't get with the other guys.
And I think there's other quarterbacks that can do a lot of those things. Caleb Williams, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, those types of quarterbacks. Cam's even got his own way about it too, which I can appreciate. There's like a very unique style to the way he does it. And I think a lot of that is throwing angles, but also like throwing platforms, how he can function with a very different kind of base.
Yeah.
It's impressive and concerning all at the same time.
It needs to be the right environment around him. And that's the challenge Tennessee is going to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is to provide that support for him and the right players around him, because it's not just draft him and he's going to fix all your problems.
So the reason I have Jaxson Dart as my QB2 ahead of Shedeur Sanders, and I'll go ahead and say that they're graded in the same bucket. So it's not like there's a massive
divide.
Yeah, it's not huge. We're not talking about a chasm here, but this is what I landed on. Jaxson Dart has a better skill set. That's where I'm at. I think he's bigger. I think he's got a little more arm. I think he's got a little more movement skills. That's what it comes down to for me. And with Shedeur, I think he's got him in processing and accuracy, which, dude, those are huge things, right? Those are huge things. I'm not taking that lightly. But Shedeur, stylistically, how he plays, which is chaos inviting, I worry that the physical traits aren't going to be there for him when he needs it at the next level in ways that he was kind of able to get away with some stuff at Colorado.
I'm going to say something, and it was inspired by listening to you talk about players in the same tier and a guy with traits versus a guy with processing and accuracy. And I'm looking at this entire class, and they're all behind a guy that like very easily could have won the Heisman Trophy, depending on what happened. Is the 2025 quarterback class just like 85% 2020?
2020. Who's the guys in that one again? Is it
Joe Burrow?
Oh, it's Burrow.
Tua versus Herbert with 2 and 3. Yeah. Jalen Hurts is in that class with what Jalen Milroe's capable of being. This is some fun parallels as far as like it's not the same tier of prospects across the board, because I would take the respective QB 1, 2, 3, 4 in 2020 versus in 2025. But we're sitting here talking about, QB2 and QB3, there's kind of a divide stylistically between a guy who's a good processor with accuracy and not a strong arm and doesn't win outside the pocket, with a guy who's got all these great traits.
Yeah.
And the question with the guy with the traits is the execution and the decision-making and the processing under pressure sometimes, even though, like, I think Jaxson probably has a better resume at Ole Miss of negotiating pressure than Justin did. I think the things that I think Herbert's got like plus traits over Dart in most of the physical attributes.
Yeah.
And for Jaxson, it's more the decision making, where for Justin, it was the feel. But it's just kind of fun to put and I never really associated those two classes because that 2020 class is legendary and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just discounted everybody by like 10, 15%, there's some similar dynamics within the players in their own individual ecosystems to each other's classes.
All right. We will continue breaking down this quarterback class, getting beyond the top 3 here on the other side of it, folks. Be sure to stick with us. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. You dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Plus, the entertainment options are endless. With 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services, such as Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen.
Now, I just know somebody's going to post on social media and say, Kyle said the 2020 class was the 2025. Please don't.
You said 85%. That felt like an important part of that.
Yeah, minor detail.
Yeah.
But I should probably establish where I am at, although I do have a 320 player big board that's coming out today for the 3013.
320.
320. It's a healthy number.
Healthy.
And I've got them all up on a horizontal board too. So it's fun to kind of look at it. That's actually what I have here up on the side. I do have Shedeur Sanders in front of Jaxson Dart. So I have Shedeur as QB2. Knowing full well that it is a system and style and situation specific kind of player. Where it's if I feel like I can get Shedeur into my comp Andy Dalton. If you can get him into a timing, rhythm, style offense, and you can get him to embrace that style of play, I think the floor and the variance of outcomes is a little bit less extreme than what I get with Jaxson Dart. But I have moved Jaxson up. He's, I think, 44th on my final board. So fully expect him to go in the first round. I understand the appeal with the traits. There's just some decision making and really kind of safety rotation and processing. And then there's the playbook element of this too.
Yeah, it's a big.
We got one-word play calls at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big evolution that I don't know where he lies on that spectrum because I haven't sat down and had interviews with Jaxson Dart. But
we need a Gruden to get his hands on him, right?
Yes. I think do we have one coming out today or is it tomorrow?
I'm not sure. I've had
I've
a lot of fun.
enjoyed the Gruden content. Which have you watched all of them?
I've watched all of Will Howard, and I've seen some of the big clips for the others.
Yeah.
The clip that I watched this morning that was fascinating, and it was from a quarterback that's very low on the board. From Memphis. What's this guy's from
Hennigan.
Memphis?
Seth Hennigan.
Yeah, and I think they were talking about their snap counts and all that, and it was like a boy name, the play was on 1 and it went to the right. If it was a girl name, was on 2 claps and went to the left. It's like, man, that level of nuance and just you don't hear people talk about that, but Gruden can kind of pull this stuff out of him, and he's making Will Howard. And could you imagine the awkwardness of just being in a small room with John Gruden, and all of a sudden
he's sitting there feeling nicey, and he's got the big eyes, and he's smiling at you,
dude. You just get up and you have to go through your sequence of calling a play, and actually in a game situation, and I freaking love that, man. And Gruden wasn't he was at the Senior Bowl one year. That guy's like that all the that's not a show. That's just who that guy is, man.
Yeah, all the time.
And it's I love it, man. I love it. So
you I guess we're in the segment where we're going to talk about Will Howard.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let you do the rest of your ranks, and then I want to dive into Will because he's a really interesting one for me.
All right, so Ward, Dart, Sanders. Then I have Jalen Milroe as my QB 4.
Okay.
Tyler Shuck is my 5.
Okay.
Will Howard is my 6. Kyle McCord is my 7, and Quinn Ewers is my 8.
Okay. So what were the grades distributions on those guys?
Milroe, Shuck 3, Howard, McCord 4, Ewers 5.
Okay. So every single one of the names that you mentioned, I have the exact same round buckets on them. So it's Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jaxson Dart. I have late ones on Ward and Sanders. I have a 2 on Jaxson Dart. I have Tyler Shuck and Jalen Milroe in that order. So Shuck is QB4, Milroe's QB5. Both of those guys have third round grades. Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel, Kyle McCord. I have 4s on all of them. So Howard is 6, Gabriel is 7, McCord is 8. I have Cam Miller from North Dakota State as QB9 in front of Quinn Ewers, who is QB10. Both of those guys have 5s. Then I have Max Brosmer, Curtis Rourke, Seth Hennigan, Riley Leonard, Brady Cook, rounding out through QB15 for me in this year's class. I could have stopped at 7 and been.
Oh, I did. I went to 8 and I said, that'll be all. That'll be all.
That's a lie. I got Cam Miller was the last one I did, and I was really glad I got him and put him in QB9.
Tease for the next segment. We're going to kind of get into those later round guys and talk about some of the redeeming qualities of them. So we are going to get deeper into the class. But you said you want to talk Will Howard. Let's talk Will Howard.
What did you think of the Gruden?
I loved it.
What was your not the Gruden the Gruden content? What did you think of Will Howard going into the Gruden class? And did your opinion of Will Howard change coming out of the Gruden class, having watched the whole thing?
Yeah,
it did for me.
Well, I had my own thoughts on Will Howard just based on very, very casually watching the college football season. And then kind of it was in concert to me where I actually did the Gruden video first because you had talked it up. And then I did the film. So it's kind of fun to see it in that order. But I think my perception of him changed a lot through just kind of what I thought is like, okay, this guy's part of the deal here in Ohio State. There's really good players around him. Found a place where he can function and get the ball out of his hands into guys, and win the national championship. Some guys really emerging on that defense to really kind of appreciating him fully. I think there's some processing stuff that I think needs to speed up. That's going to help him not have some windows diminish quickly as they did at times on tape. Right. But I think the makeup of this dude is very, very appealing, which I think is so important. In terms of you're thinking middle round quarterbacks that give you some level of upside, I feel like he's got all the right DNA to give himself the best opportunity to be successful.
Yeah, that was the big thing for me was like, that was the most intimate setting that we've seen a quarterback as a person in all cycle. Right. And like we've had a chance to meet Cam Ward. We've had a chance to meet Jalen Milroe. And those guys had glowing reviews from us in the intimate settings that we've had a chance to meet them with. But even Senior Bowl and Shrine, and you get a chance to be hands-on, and the guys have media sessions, and like Cam Miller was there, and Max Brosmer was there, and Riley Leonard's at the Senior Bowl, Seth Hennigan's at the Senior Bowl. And I'm full transparency, they're doing team stuff. And I just kind of stay down on the field when they changed sessions, and I'm standing 6 yards behind the quarterbacks when they're going down the field. So I'm getting a chance to like listen to them talk to each other when they come off after their segments and whatnot. And I understand it's an edited video that's I would imagine Will and his representation is happy with the representation that was put out of Will Howard in the video. But I agree with you wholeheartedly where guys that maybe don't have the elite traits from a passer's perspective, or guys that still have room to grow as far as their execution and field vision and working through reads. And Will, there more often than not, like he had those talented guys to throw the ball to, and he would let them make plays for him, right? And he trusted his guys to go up and make plays on the football where we're in tough situations. There's spots where that'll work in the NFL, and there's spots where it won't. But just the demeanor that he carried himself with, for the day 3 guys, I thought really separated him and set him apart for me.
This is going to feel like I'm slandering Quinn Ewers, but I think it's very enlightening to contrast both of those players where, yeah, there's really great talent around Will Howard at Ohio State. The running backs, multiple offensive linemen are going to be NFL starters.
Yep.
Smith, Egbuka, really high-end talent. He allowed that talent to be the offense that it was. It got better and better throughout the course of the season, win the national championship. He was terrific down the stretch. Contrast that to Quinn Ewers, who has had all the talent in the world around him. And I can't imagine a guy who's done less with more than what Quinn Ewers did at Texas. And that makes me appreciate Will Howard.
Even the way they called the offense last year, they put the whole offense in a box.
Yeah.
So, want to get into a couple more of the guys that we universally have, and then kind of get into some of the late round guys as far as what's the appeal for if you draft this guy, this is what you're bringing into the building. We're going to get into all that next here. Locked on NFL Scouting. Stick with us.
The Armada Player of the Week is brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, we're going to look at draft prospects to pick one guy that stands apart, the guy we believe showcased their strength and power needed to push a team forward as we look ahead to next season. Our team to focus on this week is the New York Jets. This week's Armada and clear-cut player of the week is Missouri offensive tackle Armand Membou. Just like the Armada is built for a heavy-duty workload, Armand Membou can come into the Jets and provide an immediate starter at right tackle across from Olu Fashanu and give the Jets one heck of an exciting pair of young offensive tackles to build around. Membou has NFL size. He's got power, body control, all the stuff necessary to step in right away. And when it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say go forth and conquer, and that's exactly what I think Armand Membou can do here. It's clear that our player of the week is out here ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of their outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com.
ESPN tag team Matt Miller and Jordan Reed within the last 10 minutes, Joe. Monday morning thoughts. I have Kelvin Banks and Michael Williams going earlier than the mocks have them. Jordan Reed, back-to-back picks in my final mock today. Michael Williams, 10 to Chicago. Kelvin Banks, 11 to San Francisco.
Let's get weird.
It's just going to keep unraveling. And then we're going to hear something else on Wednesday. We're going to totally forget this thing that we heard in case this is what actually happens. And we just blew right over it. Because that's how it happens.
Can we talk a little Kyle McCord?
Yeah, please.
Man, I know he doesn't have a ton of like athleticism, and I obviously like the deeper he has to work into snaps, the more concerning. But like, if you're looking for a read it and rip it quarterback that can function from the pocket and like has good accuracy and like short to intermediates, can like layer one in there between zones with like touch and accuracy, like there's some fun stuff to watch with Kyle McCord and what he was able to do this past season at Syracuse. I think for a timing-based offense, and you're looking for, you know, someone with some level of appeal in the middle rounds, I think Kyle McCord's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think he had a QB class too that you walked away from feeling impressed with. Just the fact that, you know, he was at Ohio State, goes to Syracuse, a little bit of a different style of offense, but they ran a lot of option stuff that required, you know, being on the same page with your receivers as far as when I get to the top of the route, what way am I going to break based off the coverage and that kind of process that plays, right? And look, for the limitations that I think exist with the physical skill set, he ripped the ball all over the field.
Over the field, man.
He was not shy. It's kind of like there's discount Baker Mayfield-y vibes for me with McCord. I'm not saying he's big because he doesn't have that arm at all.
No, or the movement, but
the kind of the quickness of the feet, the mentality as a passer, kind of the quiet confidence that he brings. I guess Baker was a little bit louder with his confidence, but Kyle's got it. So, it's not a coincidence. Those are two of the three guys on my fourth round bucket if you're shopping on day 3 or potentially late on day 2, depending on how early Shuck and Milroe go.
Quick thoughts on Shuck and Milroe?
Very different players. Shuck's what? On the Van Wilder plans, you can be 35 next year. Feels like it. But I would say his arm, I would put it around Jaxson Dart's level.
Yeah. He's got a good arm.
He's got a really good arm. Milroe, the traits are obvious. It's more the polish and the stuff that's not the downfield passing in the QB run game for him. I think he's the one that maybe has the highest ceiling, but has the furthest to go.
It's a fair way to put it. Milroe's got all the intangibles, man. And he's got size. He's an unbelievable runner, electric runner, tons of arm talent. It's can we develop passing game instincts from the pocket and get the right accuracy and weight on the ball.
He reminds me of Alabama Jalen Hurts. Because people like the Jalen Hurts comp, but like Jalen Hurts leaving Oklahoma was a totally different player than what he was when he was at Alabama.
Yeah, I think Milroe's got him in terms of the running ability. Hurts is a good runner. I think Milroe's a great runner.
And Milroe's got a stronger arm too.
Yeah.
But the limitations are the same as what they were for Jalen when he was at Alabama.
Yeah. All right, so one thing we wanted to do here is just kind of highlight some of the guys even later in the draft, is we've seen Brock Purdy, right, for example, come through and become a good starting quarterback in the NFL that's potentially going to get paid a lot of money here. So I think I did the inventory as you went through it, but guys that you had draftable grades on that we haven't really talked about: Dillon Gabriel, Cam Miller, Max Brosmer, and Curtis Rourke.
Yes.
Was there any? That would be the 4.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is ask Kyle, like, obviously these are later round guys. There's missing parts of their skill set, but what is the redeeming quality that they have that you would be clinging to and pointing to as, what this person's best path is to be successful by leaning into this? So let's do that. We'll start with Dillon Gabriel out of Oregon.
Yeah. Gabriel, undersized player. He's kind of built in the Tua Tagovailoa, Jaren Hall kind of stature at the quarterback position, and he's a lefty. People want to make the Tua comp. I saw more BYU Jaren Hall in his game than I did Tua. But with that said, Jaren Hall, even BYU, Gabriel's played at a bunch of spots. Played at Oregon, played at Oklahoma, played at UCF. He's got, 17,000 career passing? Yeah, he's like, it's Case Keenum, Timmy Chang, and Dillon Gabriel as far as like career passing yards in college football. So he's played a ton of football and done it in different style offenses. Like if he was just the Josh Heupel UCF team, you'd be a little leery, right? But then he goes to Oklahoma and then Oregon this year. He's got a quick stroke. He's got above average arm strength. He's got mobility where he can extend plays. So you're getting experience with requisite level tools. And I just kind of like the way that he can get outside the pocket and extend plays. Now, I think there's time for people that want to point to the anticipation. I think he's got good accuracy with spot throws. But you get him in the red zone, and I think you kind of see where it's not happening fast enough with processing coverage. So that's the big thing for him that he's going to need to continue to improve once he gets into the league.
I feel like you perked up a little bit when you mentioned the name Cam Miller out of North Dakota State. 56 game starter.
Nobody's talking about this guy.
Well, talk about him.
6'007", 215. He was at the Shrine. Didn't have a great week at the Shrine because he doesn't have ideal size. He doesn't have ideal arm strength. And he can kind of he's got that Baker gene from Oklahoma where he gets a little lackadaisical or greedy with like off-platform stuff, and his arm kind of comes back to bite him a little bit. But from clean pockets and sturdy bases as a smaller player, like he can zip the ball into some tight windows. He also has that escapability element to him. They have won a ton of football games, and there's been times where you've put him in game situation stuff, 2-minute offense type stuff, end of half. And a lot of the execution there at North Dakota State was done at a high level. So he's somebody who has a ton of production and will use his legs and will run to run if he needs to. But you can go watch the Colorado game if you'd like kind of a snapshot on who Cam Miller is. And they were 4 yards away from winning that football game on a Hail Mary on the last play of the game.
All right, so there's Cam Miller. How about Curtis Rourke?
Obviously, you come into Indiana and help lead that team to the playoff, and he's a productive player at Indiana. Played the whole year on a torn ACL. So you want to question the toughness? This guy is not built like Kyle McCord and Dylan Gabriel and Cam Miller. He's a prototypical sized pocket passer, and he plays like one. He doesn't have great mobility, but he has some of the best intermediate touch and layered throws over the middle of the field of any of the quarterbacks in this year's class. And he did it this year, transferring into Indiana while playing on a torn ACL. Like that kind of toughness, you have nothing but respect for. I've got like a 6-7 on Curtis Rourke. I think we weren't dealing with getting to the end of the year and he plays against Notre Dame, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I have a torn ACL. I got to get that taken care of. He'd maybe be a little bit higher up on this list. But for Curtis, the big challenge with his film is they ran into two teams throughout the course of the year that were like the big tests. It was Ohio State and Notre Dame. And a lot of their offense was just completely overwhelmed because the roster was a lot of transfers in from JMU, and they couldn't keep their heads above water playing those teams. But he didn't have a lot of answers when the structure of the play was broken. So that's kind of the limitation on him.
All right, Max Brosmer, last one here, the New Hampshire to Minnesota pipeline.
Another one of these guys that's built undersized. He didn't really have a lot of recruiting interest at all coming out. 6016, 216. Very good anticipation. I think he actually has one of the better anticipation through resumes. But when he has to gear up and put juice on the ball is when it feels like his accuracy kind of gets away from him, because you could tell he doesn't have a great deal of natural arm strength. So I think he's somebody that more of the traditional West Coast offense-y type stuff, timing throws, anticipation, get the ball out of your hands fast. There's some appeal there for Max Brosmer.
We did it.
There you go. Quarterbacks previewed. And we're going to get into the big picture stuff. We're in the end game here for the 2025 NFL Draft, and we will be bringing you all kinds of content here up on the lead up to Thursday. We hope to see you guys again tomorrow. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino, make it a great rest of your Monday. We're out of here.